So there'd be stuff like Asher plays Zerg and I'll play Terran, and I'd be useless. I'd just actually be useless. But here we go. We're getting into another one of our lovely viewer replays. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Equilibrium, we have our Australian Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Clan Budair. It is Saundo. Curious way to pronounce GM. Cap. And in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the the blue Zerg player. It is Norbert. Here we go. We're loading into Equilibrium. Saundo, you're still going for a Forge Fast Expands? If so, I'm going to Fanata you. We've talked about this. We do have a hatch first set up here from Norbert. We're going to be seeing a gate set up here from Saundo as we do go for a scout across the map. Here we go. Now, as a bit of a heads up as well, I don't know if this is the case, maybe Saundo can confirm. The other day, Saundo did message me and about viewer replay cast, and did say something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm gonna get wasted. I'm gonna have drinks tonight. Then I'll redeem some replays." I'm like, I don't know if that's applicable to this replay. I think it might be. I don't know. So I don't know what I'm about to walk into. Esther Saundo. So going for a probe scout across the map, just confirming that there's no 12 pool. Ooh, bit of an overreaction there from Norbert here. Diving on that probe is going to force some lost mine time, so not a bad start here for Saundo. Again, just making sure that there's no extra gases, that there's no 12 pool or 13-12 or gas first. And it does also confirm that the goal base hasn't been taken. That's a really big thing here on Equilibrium. A bit of a PSA for the people in the chat is that Zerg players or players in general can try to rush into this goal base as their natural or as their third or as their fourth. Very important to keep an eye on this and to be aware of when and where that happens. As across the map, it is going to be a gate into Cyber into 4, so a big delay on the expansion here for Saundo. Once again, just going for a very safe opener. As I say that, we do have a proxy pylon, and this is poised for a proxy Stargate. Proxy Stargate Void Ray is more of a thing in PvT, is actually meta, and we actually see that pop up from time to time from players like Hero, from players like Classic. Like they have mixed it in the new patch. The reason why we see it in PvT is because if you're a long-time fan of StarCraft, you would have known that Proxy Void Ray was very much so a thing back in 2020, before the nerf. Back in like the Moondance meta and the map pool before that. The reason for this though is that, the reason why it fell off was because it was nerfed. There was a change to the shield batteries. Shield batteries now start with less energy when they're being proxied like this. And likewise, I want to believe the production time was increased for Void Rays. There was a change to the Void Ray as well. So there was like a couple of changes designed to shut down Proxy Void Ray. But in the new patch, the reason why it's kind of risen in popularity is because of the change to the Cyclone. Cyclones are suddenly less reliable when it comes to dealing with Void Rays in PvT, and you do have to rely a lot more on Vikings and positional play and, of course, scouting. This isn't really done too often against Zerg. As Lings do scout this and do spot this, we're going for the pylon. Saundo is going to be able to keep it alive. The first Void Ray is going to be on the way. Oh, as a pylon does drain a lot of that energy already on that first shield battery. Second shield battery going to be running out of energy. Void Ray still on the way. It's still 70% of the way done. And can we deny this? It's going to be close. Up the pylon. The pylon gets surrounded. We're trying to keep it alive, and it looks like the Void Ray is going to be denied. Oh my god, it was merely seconds away. We're going to... Oh, let's go. The pylon is still actually in production though, so it looks like we're going to be able to repower this. The Void Ray is going to get back up and running. It does pop out. Oh, Norbert maybe celebrating a little bit too soon there. Didn't focus on that pylon initially, and it looks like we will save this. The proxy will continue. Behind this Norbert, oh my god, wait, what? As the proxy does continue, behind this Norbert, woefully underprepared. Okay, we do have 3 queens. We are not connecting the bases. We went into double Evo chamber with a Roach Warren. Not ideal here, as we do need to focus on queen production. Queens are paramount here, and we do deal a lot of damage to that first Void Ray already. Behind this, no expansion. Saundo is pretty all in with this. And Norbert has a actually not a decent economy here. We aren't saturated in our main. We aren't saturated here at our natural. We are lacking a little bit. As we do bring down the Stargate, it will fall. So from here, Norbert should be droning. We should be droning or not. We should be taking another base. When I say that, though, we should also be confirming whether or not Saundo is also expanding. As he is. Saundo is backing up, getting into a 4-gate setup on 2 bases. Again, a very late expansion here for Saundo. So Norbert has map control. Once he recognizes that he has map control, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take the gold. We're taking a 3rd base, which again isn't bad either, but especially on a map like Equilibrium, may as well double down. Like, you have such a way to get a boosted economy on this map. Unfortunately, we're not taking advantage of it, but again, taking a 3rd base isn't a bad option either. 3rd base on the way. Lings are fanning out. Looks like we are checking for the gold as well. We have an Overlord in position. So good scouting overall by Norbert. Does confirm the gateways on the way. Void Ray comes back in. Gets a worker kill. The Queens are going to be able to force this back in. Oh god, this Void Ray is so low. No, it's slowed down. The prismatic alignment does slow down the Void Ray, and it will go down in the main. It's a good pick off there by Norbert. As he's getting set up here on these 3 bases. Meanwhile, Saundo back at home, I believe, threw down additional gateways. Initially, it was 4 gates, but now he's on 6 gateways. So 6 gates. We have a Robo, we have a Bay on the way. No Twilight Council, which makes this a little bit awkward. If we're committing this hard to gateways, if this was a pro gamer, and I was assuming that we would be seeing these 6 gates, it would be like a Soul Train, like Sentries and Immortals. Here, these gateways have a little bit less value just because there's no Twilight Council. Without Blink, Charge, or Glaives, these vanilla gateway units are not as potent as they otherwise would be. So it looks like maybe Saundo was maybe a little bit worried, a little bit scared, just because he had lost a little momentum. It was like panic, maybe throwing down all these gateways, and as a result did delay his Twilight Council, which tells me that Norbert has a lot of free time. It does mean that Saundo, he's kind of stuck at home for a while, and this is where the Zerg player needs to be taking advantage of this. Now we take that I mean, we're taking the gold, which I think is again a good move just because we have so much map control, but Norbert is missing out on droning. We're not actually spending our lava. We are not supply blocked, by the way, but now we're making workers. Our macro has been slipping here, and we haven't been able to drone up as much as we should. As a result, even though Saundo is stuck on 2 bases, even though we have a 4th on the way, Norbert actually doesn't have an amazing economy. Has a pretty similar economy compared to Saundo, actually. So his macro going to be slipping a little bit. Again, maybe just a little bit concerned about, Sky Toss, about the Void Rays that he saw earlier. And Saundo is building up towards Colossi, towards Charge. We're building up a death ball of an army. I'm curious if Saundo intends to push out on 2 bases, or if we take a 3rd. We'll see. If we do take a 3rd, again, the gold is always an option, depending on how we want to approach this. Colossi are amassing. And back at home, what army are we working with? Do we have any upgrades either? Okay, so we're just now taking our gases. We are heavily overdrawn here in the main base, and we haven't made use of our tech. There's no roach speed, there's no upgrades from these Eva chambers either. I'm still not entirely sure, like, what kind of army we want to work with here for Norbert, because we haven't, like, committed to any upgrades. Like, it could be, like, melee upgrades into a Baneless, into Ling Bane, into Hive Tech. We could still throw down, like, a Hydra Den. Like, it's... Yeah, again, our macro is slipping. Like, honestly, we had a really good start. Like, I'll be honest, like, our Zerg player here had a really good start, shutting down the proxy, containing our opponent, and double expanding. But the way that we're spending our money is what's hurting us right now. You can see Norbert backing up quite a lot and having a lot of lava here. We do have that Hydrogen on the way, and we are going to be refocusing our attention with these workers, thankfully, a little bit at least, as there we go, the boys are being sent elsewhere. But yeah, tech-wise, we're a little bit all over the place, and it's still a little bit not so cohesive. I still don't even know what we want to make. If we want to get into Ling Hydra, if we want to go into... Oh, no! Oh, he forgot! No shot! Norbert throwing down 2 more Evo chambers. Did forget about the tech that he already had here at the natural. Did slip his mind. And it looks like we are going to be committing to Hydras. Meanwhile, Saundo's taking a 3rd. Now, what's concerning here is that as it looks like we're taking up towards Ling Hydra. What's good against Ling Hydra? Colossus, papi. We have 3 Colossi already out. If we really wanted to, we could double down and just keep making Colossus behind this as well. We are pretty well set up against a light-based army, and that is what happens to be what Norbert is working towards. Norbert has seen the Colossus. He did have his Overlord within vision. He even double checks here as well. Upon seeing these Colossi, that should force a reaction here. Like, Hydras don't do too well against this. There we go. We're going for a Spire. Interesting. Interesting choice. Back in the day, fun fact, Spire play, and even Corruptors were actually an option against Colossus. Back in Heart of the Storm, I remember that Corruptors were seen from time to time, just because, of course, Colossi count as like air units because of how high up they are. Going into Mutas would be interesting in this position. The problem here is that it's so late. Like, it's a late tech structure. It's going to take quite some time to get into Mutas. We don't have a lot of gas. Our gas income here is hurting, as we haven't gone into these gases at the natural. So whether it's Mutas, whether we even threw down a Lurker Den, which is what I would have preferred, is we already have the Hydras rush into Hydra Lurker Viper, right? Like, that's the ideal against ground toss. We don't really have the economy to sustain this here. We have access to the Rich Vespine Gas Geyser as well, which would be amazing. We're able to make use of that. And Saundo is working on a 4th Colossus. From here, if we even just refine this army with either sentries or even some Archons, like, we could move out quite soon. Even being down in army supply, like, we have a much more efficient army. As a heads up, sentries are ideal here because there are no Ravagers. Specifically against a Lingbane Hydra-based army, you can have your way with this. You can make like a wave of like 5 sentries, force field, and just slice this army up and go to town. That's the big disadvantage of going for this kind of composition, is that you have no way to deal with that kind of scenario. Now, thankfully for Norbert, we're not actually investing into something like sentries, but like, that is like something that is quite effective here against Lingbane Hydra specifically. As we are going to be confirming the army composition, we do get eyes on the Lingbane Hydra, and we are going for a Sky Toss transition. This isn't a bad option either. The sentries would be a good option if we wanted to hit a timing, if we wanted to push out and end the game. If we wanted to just slow the game down, take a 4th, take a 5th, and out macro the opponents, then Sky Toss, like, is the way to go. This, especially because, like, in the back of our mind, we could be thinking that this is going to be leading into Lurker play. If that's the case, especially because we haven't scouted, if that's the case, then Sky Toss would be like a mature decision, just to, like, you know, stabilize and get into carriers and mothership and all that good stuff, as we have a 5th Colossus on the way, which is getting a bit excessive. just a bit. So this isn't a bad option. We have an Arctrine on the way as well to help harass. Meanwhile, when it comes to Norbert's composition, he is incorporating Corruptors. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if his idea to deal with Colossus is Corruptor, which, I mean, it kind of works. It's going to work in a couple of different ways. One, I mean, sure, it shoots Colossus, but 2, Saundo happens to be going into Sky Toss, so Corruptors, they're going to be valuable there as well. So, like, per chance, like, we do see Norbert actually taking in a direction that is going to help him in more ways than one. As we are just amassing our army. Pushing into this is going to be difficult. Now, we are very Zealot heavy. Without any Archons, that's the other reason why you would ideally have Archons here, is because Archons do amazing soaking Lingbane, just because they're so tanky. Otherwise, we can collapse on this. Baneling speed isn't done, yo. A bit of an anti-timing Banelings. They roll in, they try to connect, but we are crashing into mainly Stalkers and Colossus. Oh, the Lingbane is annihilated. The Banelings, they did not connect with the Zealots, and Norbert loses everything. The Corruptors, they come in, but too little too late. They kill 1 Colossus, but we have 4 left. We have 4 Colossus left, and we can push in. And again, unfortunately, that was a bit of an anti-timing. Norbert, he attacked seconds before Baneling Speed finished. That was so unfortunate. Baneling Speed was just about to finish as the fight ended. That would have helped when it came to engaging with the Zealots. Ideally, you want the Banelings to connect with the Zealots and the rest of the army to deal with everything else. But that engage was a little bit disjointed, and now Norbert, he's in a lot of trouble. That's a lot of Banelings, though. Oh my god, 47 Banelings! We can deal with this. The Zealots, at least. Yeah, Zelse get annihilated. We roll into the main army as well, and it looks like we barely crashed through the line of Stalkers, but we still have a ground army left over. Again, Stalkers do an amazing job at tanking Baneling shots. It takes so many Banelings to kill a Stalker, and we can still break through anyway. That was almost a hold from Norbert, but Saundo is going to be able to snowball out of control, does bust into the natural base, is going to be able to camp the production. We have 20 Lings on the way. And again, against Colossus, they are going to struggle to really close the gap. Queen's going to be coming in, and yeah, we have Zels to deal with that as well. We never did end up transitioning into Skytoss. We had the tech for it, but Saundo went for the ground to push anyway. Was a little bit harder as a result, but made his way through nonetheless. And the Colossus, they will be reigning supreme. We do get on top of the base. Hatchery going to be going down. The boys are being pulled into Colossus. The swipes go off. We have a couple of DTs that want to get in the mix as well. Again, Saundo, he has pulled this off. It was a shaky start, not gonna lie. The proxy Stargate did not pay off whatsoever. We crashed into one of the Colossus. But we were able to recover from there. And again, on the flip side of things, Norbert wasn't able to take full advantage of the map control that he had, and his macro, his economy was quite shaky behind this, unfortunately, to be able to take full advantage of the advantage that or of the lead that he had at the start of the game. Saundo was able to come back again. Solid macro overall from Saundo. GG, Saundo will take it in the end. My PSA to you, Saundo, don't proxy Void Ray Zerg, okay? What are you doing? But GG nonetheless. You gave yourself a harder time with your opener, Poppy. Harder time. GG, well played. Saundo will take down Norbert.